more content online. We don't always print everything we cover. That's just sort of the book business. Maybe we've run out of pages, etc. So we definitely have more content online than you'll find in print. So if you're planning a trip somewhere, don't just rely on the guidebook. Also look on our site to see what else might be there that's newer, fresher, etc. And from this universe, we also cover 80,000 POIs. So POIs are what we call points of interest. These are all of the recommendations you will find in our guidebooks and online. And it's worth pointing out that we don't cover anything that we do not recommend. So we want to save you time. We don't want you to have to sort of filter through, a lot of negative stuff in order to get to the good stuff. We only cover the good stuff because we've actually gone to the bad stuff, decided it's bad, and we're going to not cover it. And this universe of what we cover is expanding all the time as well. Especially because a website, our Fodors.com website, allows us a lot of room. I mean, we never run out of pages online. And you can see here, for those of us who've been with us for a while, you can see our sort of evolution in terms of our covers on the left there. We've had some really amazing stuff. We actually have some examples of some old covers up here, which you guys can grab too. Some vintage covers, including the Men's Guide to Europe and the Women's Guide to Europe. You can take a look at both of those and determine which person is having more fun. The women look very much like they're in a room with a view and going about the museums with their governess sort of thing, whereas the men are like, woohoo, ski bunnies and martinis. Things that we wouldn't be able to do nowadays, that's for sure, in terms of representation. We also went through a phase of what we called our gold guides, which are the gold ones, the gold one on the far left. Your far left. And now we are orange all the way. So whenever you see an orange guide in stores on shelves, that's us. And we stand out because of that. So looking through the universe of the stuff we do, the New York City example, I also want to point out here, it has the year on it, 2015. We are now quite unique in the business in the number of guides that we update annually. Many guidebooks are not updated annually. So you'll always know it's an annual guide if the year is on the cover or on the spine. And so in the case of New York City, it's ever popular. Things change all the time. Of course, we're going to be updating that to make sure that our coverage is up to date. Tends to focus on all of the most popular destinations anyway. So that's a great, always look for the date on our guides to get the most current stuff. We don't bury our copyright. With our date published in the back of the book as others do. We actually have it up front, so you can always just open the guide, even if it's not on the cover, open the guide to 2 or 3 pages in and look for the date. We are very upfront with how frequently we cover things. The 25 Best example here of London, this is a new series that we rebooted a couple of years ago and is primed for short trips to major cities. So you're only going to find cities in this universe. It's great if you're doing multiple cities in one trip, so you're not having to buy like huge big books to carry with you. These are a lot lighter weight. There's an example of Singapore up here that you can look at, and it has everything you need just for 4 days, including maps. We have an In Focus series, also very portable. This is primarily resort destinations with a couple of smaller cities, including Charleston, Savannah, and Santa Fe. We also, for now anyway, we still have a Napa and Sonoma in this format. Napa and Sonoma has been so popular that we're actually going to increase it to the larger format of our regular series coming this summer. And you will find us, as I've said, online. All of our content is there. It is free to use and access on the web. And we also have apps and ebooks too, so if you really want to be super portable, all of our books are simultaneous ebook publication. And finally, for those of you who have not planned any summer weekend getaways, we also have a curated list of weekend getaways from major cities, including from San Francisco. And these are all meant as destinations within 3 hours. And we've covered them expecting a Friday night arrival and a Sunday night departure. So it's basically your perfect weekend itinerary from start to finish. And by the way, feel free to stop me and interrupt me and ask me questions as I go. I also tend to speak very quickly. So feel free to stop me. So this is where should you go in 2015? With this, we're going into our 5th year of doing this program, where every fall, usually in November, basically between Thanksgiving and the holidays, we release our list of the places to go in the coming year. and it's called the Go List. And what we're looking for there, our editors, we've got about 15 people in the office, plus we have our writers all around the world, are always tracking trends, emerging destinations, what's getting some buzz, what historic events might be happening or major anniversaries, new openings, major museums opening or major hotels openings that, that put a place on a radar as a destination to go to in the coming year. I'm not going to go through.
Quick question.
Yes.
Are the Aman resorts on your calendar?
Yes.
Which one?
The Aman resorts in, well, we have, because there are several. There's the one in Turkey, there's one in, there's the Aman Giri in the southwest too,
Utah.
in Utah, which I've been dying to stay at, but it is.
Indonesia, Malaysia,
Yeah, so we also, those ones will be, we actually do a hotel awards list every year, so this would be relevant too. We do a Fodor's 100 list that covers the top, as you imagine, we've set foot in a lot of hotels every year. So every year now, in the fall as well, we also release our top 100 recommendations of all the places that we've been to. Yes?
Quick question.
Yes.
Transportation, you cover anything about transportation?
Yes, in destination, we definitely cover sort of the how to get from the airport, how to get around the destination.
But not the airfare, airplane.
We cover, well, we'll mention, basically we'll talk about which major hubs to fly into, and oftentimes which airlines actually service those hubs. Nowadays, so many airlines are sort of covering kind of everywhere that it was getting, I'll be honest with you, it was getting a little repetitive to always be saying American Airlines, United. We're focusing more just on, you know, if you're going to be going to France, for example, what are the major hubs that you should fly into, and then from there, how would you get to the rest of the country? So, yes.
Do you know those different locations up there? Let's say Italy. What are the places you should go in Italy? You've got a dot in Italy.
Yes, we do have a dot in Italy, and it's one of the ones I'm going to talk about,
oh,
actually. So I'm going to go through a handful of these. Like I said, I'm not going to cover them all because we had 25 this year, so you can find the full list on Fodors.com. But I will go through some of them, including the one in Italy. And just to sort of final note, though, on the hotels piece, really, if you're looking for a very special place to stay, looking at our Fodors 100 as you're thinking about your next destination is the way to go. We really do round up sort of our best of the best properties in a given year. And I would also recommend that you look back. We've been doing it now since 2011. Yes, 2011, I think. So you can look back several years because hotels still are, you know, they're still in business and they're still great.
Is that Yemen or Saudi Arabia?
It's probably Oman that I'm looking at up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, because it's that the dot isn't quite in the, it needs to come down a little
not
bit.
exactly the greatest place to go right now.
Yes, it's very close.
Yeah.
It's very close, you've got good eyes. So I will start with some of the places that we are tracking this year. One of the things that that you should know about Fodors is that we really excel and believe and strongly support food and wine travel. This is also something that sets us apart. We do a lot of wine coverage in our guidebooks. We often tap wine pros to actually write the content as well, so accredited people who really know the business. Here in this example, we're going for Louisville because bourbon has been making a huge resurgence in recent years, and just to get us off the wine track, although we are going to talk about wine destinations shortly. Louisville really came onto the scene again a few years ago when a hotel opened called the 21C Museum Hotel, and that really set the destination on a path to to new clientele. This is a hotel that has an amazing private art collection in its basement, in its ground floors, and it also has what's considered the most happening restaurant on the main drag. It's called Proof on Main. And in addition to drinking mint juleps everywhere you go, you can actually go and tour these amazing bourbon distilleries. And this is Maker's Mark. And I don't know if any of you drink Maker's Mark, and you know that the bottle has the red wax on the top of it. At the end of your tour here, you can actually dip your own bottle and bring home your own wax top souvenir from here. And what's great is that these landscapes are just spectacular, bucolic places, and you'll get to learn how the bourbon making process works. This for us is a great weekend getaway. You're looking at 3 nights, 4 days, quick trip. And we also have been recommending, because you know, obviously the Derby happens the first weekend in May, but Churchill Downs gets underway a couple of weeks before that, when they really start opening up the season. And that's a great time to be there, is late April. So you can actually get into the Churchill Downs, you actually get to still be part of the setting up of the whole scene that's gonna happen in a couple of weeks, but you won't be paying the same prices as you would be if you went a couple of weeks later. So it's a great, beautiful time to be there, and you still get in on all the fun of the Derby, just without the VIP box, etc. This destination, I wonder how many of you have heard of Guadalupe Valley in Mexico? Excellent. Okay. This is right outside Ensenada, and it is one of the top emerging wine destinations in the world right now. Wine enthusiasts recently named it one of the best wine regions around. What's fantastic about it is it's still so undiscovered, and this is really big red wine country because it's so hot. We're talking about Tempranillos, Syrahs, Zins, etc. And you're going to get to stay in places like this. This is called the Adobe Guadalupe, 6-room inn on a vineyard. You also, it's a lot of farm-to-table cuisine here. Met someone in LA last week who goes here every year and was just raving about how the food just keeps getting better and better and better. And that chefs are basically growing their own gardens and bringing the produce right to the table on the cutting board in front of you. So this is, I'm sure you guys have all been to, you know, given where you live, you've been going up to Napa and Sonoma. This is a much less crowded place to go, and it's all about getting in kind of at the ground now and doing some wine touring down here. So we're very excited about this one. I have yet to go. I'm hoping to in the next few months. And here's the Italy one. So Piedmont, another wine region that we're very excited about. And here, the reason it made our list this year is because last year it was named to the UNESCO World Heritage List. So that means it's one of the very few vineyards in the, vineyard territories in the world that's actually got that UNESCO designation. So all of its medieval towns are going to be protected. So it's going to look and feel this way, hopefully forever. Hopefully forever. And here it's all about sort of the postcard views. If you've been to Tuscany, heading up here to the north, you're going to have very different kinds of wines. This is the home of the sparkling wines of Italy. So if you've heard of Asti Spumante, it comes from here. It's also the home of Barolo, the king of reds. It's also the home of the white truffles that are so incredibly popular when they're in season. And those are all found in the woods around the town of Alba. And Alba has a truffle festival every fall from mid-October to mid-November. Asti, which is an amazing time to go if you're into food and wine, because you are going to taste everything at its absolute best. And then if you're into sparkling wine, the time to be there is in September when they have a sparkling wine festival in Asti. The main base for the region is Turin, which does have flights. I have a fly, sorry. So it's a lot easier to access Turin from major airports. And then you would be basically doing a driving tour to go and hit all of these on the trip. For somewhere very different, Patagonia has been getting a lot of new interest in the last few years. We have seen a lot of new sort of rugged luxury hotels opening here, and that also tends to signal that a region is in growth mode. It used to be that to go to Patagonia, you'd basically be taking a cruise ship, and then you'd kind of have one day to go and explore it. In part because it was also very hard to get from Santiago down to this part of Chile. It's such a long, narrow country. It can take a very long time. So they've added new airlift from Santiago, making it a lot easier. When I went here several years ago, I spent basically 7 hours in an airport trying to get down to this part from Santiago. Pleased to report you don't have to do that anymore. And it's really worth spending more than a day here to actually get out and experience the amazing natural scenery in Torres del Paine National Park, which is also a UNESCO protected area. It's stunning glacier lakes, amazing hikes. There's some 5-day hikes you can do that'll actually really get you in the backcountry and get you into the little rugged shacks all along the way. Anyway, it's absolutely a spectacular way to get off the grid. There is no internet access when you're doing that. You are just sheerly out there enjoying the beauty in the wilderness. If you do want something more upscale, though, in terms of where you stay, The Singular Patagonia is one of our favorite new hotels to come out of there. That is a Fodor's 100 property, so we already loved it, and we gave it an award a couple of years ago after it opened. So this is somewhere, you know, if you're planning, actually coming back to this thing about I've never been to Antarctica, I've been so close because the port for most boats to Antarctica is Puerto Natales, which is the town that you fly into to get to Patagonia. So if you wanted to add on Antarctica to this trip, it is very doable because most cruise ships leave from here.
What's the criteria to be a UNESCO heritage site? I've been to so many and I don't know what makes them.
That's a good.
I think that's an excellent question, and I think we should do a story about this because it does seem to, it's not entirely clear. It's as though, you know, they just sort of say it has a special merit, right? And it's not always clear. I think we should do a story about this. I think it needs to be reported on. I think they're like a little secret society that sort of goes around and decides. So I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm just pleased when places make it onto the UNESCO list because I know that means that they will be protected. And there's so many beautiful places in the world that deserve that. And having been to enough myself too, they do all seem that they have a very special, unique character that is reflective of its place. Very reflective of its place and or history, or in the case of somewhere like a national park, it's just that astonishing natural beauty. And the idea there, of course, is that you don't want to encroach on that with development and the like. But yes, I think we should go straight.
Speaking of criteria,
yes.
What is the criteria used for the top Fodor hotels?
They have to meet. It's a combination of service, location, amenities, room caliber, quality. There's kind of a secret sauce. Like you kind of know when you walk into a great hotel, right? You kind of know. And because we're walking into great hotels and not so great hotels all the time, we're kind of just able to identify what makes them particularly special. That said, it is that sort of, I would say those four things. Service though is essential, and special perks that people might be able to get as add-ons to a package, or add-ons like if they have like a wine, like a happy hour every day that allows people to come and meet each other, and they don't charge guests for that. That sort of, it's things like that. It's about the guest service.
Is it like so it's almost always a 4 or 5 star?
No, actually we have given Fodor's 100s to properties that are not 4 or 5 stars. Like I would say it's probably 3-star plus. We just recently stayed at the Triton Hotel in San Francisco. I wouldn't call that a 4-star hotel, but it has been a Fodor's 100 winner, and that is because of its location, the incredible service,
Value.
the value, exactly. And value is actually one of the things we do look at a lot. We certainly do cover luxury properties, but value is a very important factor in our assessment. And looking through our lists as well, you'll see you can actually filter online. You can actually filter our hotel recommendations by value. You can filter them by budget. You can, anyway, and a dozen other sort of indices to really kind of narrow in to what you're looking for. This part of the world does not have so many value hotels. I will say that. You're either staying in sort of a hiking cabin with very basic necessities, or you're going to be staying in somewhere with a place that I would consider a soft luxury hotel, because it's rugged. I mean, you are dragging your boots all over the floor and the like, but it's higher. It's going to be higher end all the same with its services. And it's so remote, it's hard to get things down there. Singapore. Have any of you been to Singapore? Great. Okay, Singapore has been this place for many of us, at least in the travel industry, and maybe those of you who've been there before would attest to this too, that many people just didn't want to get out of the airport to go and see. It was a transit hub for the rest of Southeast Asia. I'm very pleased to say that Singapore has been doing a lot to improve itself and its image as a destination in its own right in recent years. And what you're looking at here, for example, are like the super trees, and they're in their new gardens, and behind that there's the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, which really again put Singapore on well, basically everyone's Instagram feeds and covers of every travel section because it has the most amazing infinity pool possibly in the world. It's a very, very high floor, and you're basically swimming over the city. It's a bucket list experience in and of itself, although not for those who have vertigo. Yes.
And how are you participating in the annual travel convention in Singapore, which the Europeans launched into Asia?
We are. I'm not sure I understand the question, but we are not participating in the travel convention in Singapore.
There's a major annual travel convention.
Yes, there is because our guidebooks are for American travelers. We focus primarily on the American market, actually. So because I know there are conventions in Singapore, and there are also a lot of conventions in Europe. Too, but again, it's our guidebooks are only sold. Well, actually, they're also sold in Canada, but primarily they're sold here. So that's why we focus on this market. Yes.
Does Fodor's review other types of accommodations such as bed and breakfast, Airbnbs? What is their take on the Airbnbs?
So the first part is the easy question. Yes, we cover B&Bs, and you'll also be able to filter. You'll see B&B as a tag in our books too, as you're going through the hotel sections. You'll see B&B, and these are especially popular in Hawaii, for example. You will definitely see that right beside the hotel review to be able to call that out, and you'll find it online in the filtering. As for Airbnb, we have been covering vacation rentals in vacation rental destinations for a long time. The challenge with an Airbnb, which I use Airbnb when I travel. I use it primarily when I travel to cities that I know, that I've already been to, that I'm really familiar with. Because the first time I go to a city, I want to stay in a hotel so that I have access to a concierge, and I have access to a restaurant. And I want to feel central and feel like I have access to people who can help me out because I'm new to the place. But once I really know it, renting an apartment is a great way to really feel like a local. The challenge with reviewing an Airbnb is that the properties aren't always on the market. So we could review a place. I'd love to do this. I would love to be able to review an apartment I stayed at in Paris, for example, on Fodor's. But that apartment may not be available when you go, right? And or the person who owns that apartment may just take it off the market, which happened to me with an apartment I rented in Paris, and then they canceled my reservation 10 days before I went. So that's actually one of the drawbacks to Airbnb, is that you don't have the control over the reservation that you have when you're booking a hotel, right? I mean, the hotel is not going to call you up and say, or send you an email, a cursory email, a terse email that says, yeah, we've canceled your reservation. So go into it with eyes open. We also are big fans of VRBO and Home Away. And we've certainly been covering those entities for
What was the other one?
Home Away and VRBO, so it's Vacation Rental by Owner.
Are they not the same thing?
And they are kind of the same thing now, but they're still different sites and yeah.
What is the difference of those two brands?
Mostly in terms.
Originally, Home Away was more of an exchange program, I believe.
Might have been.
That went into that market in competition with the RBO. So, like any good monopoly or person seeking monopoly and not being concerned about Sherman Trust or anything like that, they just apply it.
Right, in the way that Priceline acquired Kayak. Right, and Expedia now it's like Orbitz and Travelocity. Okay.
It's a competition. What I wanted to mention is I really like to use Airbnb.
Yeah.
I travel as a single woman, a lot,
Yeah.
like you. And when I arrive in a town, I always stay at a hotel initially, so I'll book my Airbnb reservation. But initially, because of the concierge, and I get to know, it sort of becomes my base, especially as a woman traveling alone.
Yeah.
Like I went to language school in Barcelona for 6 weeks and did Airbnb. And so I affiliated myself with a hotel right next to where I was staying. But that's also for security reasons.
Totally.
So when any taxis, when I go somewhere and a taxi drop me off, or I go on a city tour or whatever, people thought that I was staying at the hotel, but really I wasn't.
That's very smart.
And yeah, and I also got to know the reception area people and concierge, and they would let me book tours there, and I'd read their international newspapers and stuff.
Excellent, well played.
So you want to go, as a woman, you have to be very, careful about your security.
Yes, you do, and actually, yeah, and with Airbnb, I will usually only rent through women also, because of that, because I'm often going on my own.
So,
Yes.
so if you stay at the hotel and then you tell the hotel, you know the concierge, you get to know everybody. You say, you know what, I'm going to an Airbnb appointment. Is it okay if I keep my luggage here and everything? Let me check in with you.
Be sure to tip the concierge.
Yes, yes, definitely tip the concierge. They're taking care of you, definitely. They're the, yes,
Well,
yes, yes, it's very good advice too. HomeAway. Just to sort of on the HomeAway VRBO thing, you will actually find very similar. The same property often posts its rentals on both sites. So it really becomes a question of which user experience you prefer. And I think, and VRBO I think has more availability in certain cities, and HomeAway has more availability in others. Yes.
I say one other thing.
Yeah, and I also have an Airbnb post also, but so I am, partial to Airbnb. But what I was going to say is a real advantage for me in terms of Airbnb has to do with, well, not just like the security, the verification process. So, my host is verified just like I'm verified.
Right.
So that makes me feel better. But also, they do not, your funds are held like in an escrow account. So it's not until 24 hours after you have arrived that, your money is paid out. And that means that if you arrive and there's no Wi-Fi connection or whatever, if it's misrepresentation in any way, then you don't have to worry in terms of how am I ever going to get the money back. You just call Airbnb and
they're
fly
very
you another
responsive actually. Their
place,
customer service is
immediately,
good.
like within hours.
Yeah, the customer service is very good. But we also like hotels. We do. And Singapore is actually, yes, so to come back to, it does have this amazing hotel, but there are additional hotels you can stay at too here. And there's also just, this year it's celebrating, the reason, again, to sort of come back to this idea of like, how do we choose places for this list? In the case of Singapore, it is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, 50th anniversary of independence. And so as a result, they're going to be having a lot of events this year. They're also going to be opening up a new national art gallery in the fall. So it's giving people new reasons to visit. And in addition to the famous hawker stalls, so you can basically, get to Singapore and eat your way through all of these amazing hawker stalls for not much money, which can turn it into quite a value or even budget destination if you're, choosing your adventure smartly. Melbourne. Have you guys been to? Yeah, you've been everywhere. Good. Melbourne, for us, has really kind of arrived as its own destination in Australia. Because we can track where people go because we have our website. We actually see what people are searching for. We know that people, when they're traveling to Australia, often go to Sydney and the Great Barrier Reef. Finish. Fini. Because we have so little vacation time, right? It's like, how do you prioritize?
yeah.
So we now want, we're now really big on Melbourne and definitely think that Melbourne deserves to be on everybody's radar as well. And it's funny, I initially started out talking about Melbourne as the Montreal of Australia. I was recently told I could also call it the San Francisco of Australia. And that makes a lot of sense to me because when I first came to San Francisco I was living in Montreal and I thought, oh, this city is very much like Montreal. So it's got that same sort of lively, youthful energy. There's a ton of cultural stuff going on. This is really the sort of the European feeling center of the country. And it's got a great seafood and wine scene too. Again, coming back to our things about we want to eat and drink well when we're there too. And it's a city that sort of wakes up late. This is not somewhere you're going to have to be getting up, crack of dawn in the morning and running around to see a ton of attractions like you would in, say, in Paris. You actually can really kind of slide into the rhythm of the city when you visit here. And one of the things we also really like about Melbourne is that they have this rather innovative greeter program where you can connect with a local who shares your interests, and they will actually take you on a 2 to 4 hour tour of the city, and it's free. So it's called the Melbourne, I think it's called the Melbourne Greeter Program. Greeter Program. So there it's like, you know, again, if you're going to a city for the first time and you don't know anyone in the place, how great is it that you can actually tap into a local who lives there to take you around and share their enthusiasm for the place. And I would love it actually if I could, you know, all of our writers, because they're all based everywhere, it would be, I'm always like, oh, the writers should be doing this. But as some of you probably know from perhaps being writers yourselves, writers are not always, talkers. So yeah, this is somewhere to really put on your radar, and especially too if you've gone to Australia before, if you're going back, go to Melbourne. Oman. So this is where the dot was not quite in Oman. It was a little too much in Saudi Arabia. Very good eyes from that row. This is a destination I'm really, really, really excited about. Now, because you have been to everywhere. Have you been to Oman?
No.
Good. No. Okay. All right. So Oman is one of those places that just started generating a lot of sort of quiet buzz in the travel among travel writers and editors in the last couple of years, and you just started seeing people, you know, just going to Oman and coming back and raving about it. Our list came out first. Others also do similar lists of places to go in the coming year. Our list came out first, and then 2 other lists also put Oman on it. So Oman is definitely having a moment. Partly it's because its neighbor Dubai has gone crazy Vegas, you know, Disney, and Oman has maintained its traditions. It has moved much more slowly, and they've been really focusing on more of a sort of soft luxury market. This is a place I've been recommending actually for honeymoon destinations. It's a very safe place to go in that region that is definitely having challenges, and we're not, you know, and not getting as many tourists to other places for good reason. And I've been calling this also the perfect trip. I'm really big on a place that I can have city, beach, and some kind of rugged adventure as well. Oman has it all. Amazing natural landscapes, where you can kind of go ATVing through the desert. You can go and stay on a beach peninsula. You can also go to Muscat, and it's an incredibly safe country. Women certainly have to cover, you know, best to cover up while there, but you can drive. Women can work there. I've been getting a lot of questions about how do women, you know, can women get around Oman on their own, for example. I would feel very comfortable being there on my own from everything I've read and heard about the place. So this, for me, is a very exciting development in that region that I think is just going to get more and more traffic to it. So again, another reason we put places on our list is like go now before everybody else gets there. This is somewhere that is still fairly untrammeled and very exciting to visit. Okay, and that's actually where the coverage ends. What I do have to talk about from our list this year. I do have some other things to share with you. You can find all of our recommendations, as I said, on Fodors.com. So just look up Go List 2015, and you'll find them all there. And for all I know, you may have some questions about some destinations that we actually do have on the list that I didn't cover today. I do talk fast. I heard that. I know. Yes. I'll try to slow down.
It's all right, you have a lot to say.
I do.
You
I
don't
have
have a lot of time.
I've always talked fast. I sort of
New Yorkers do.
Yeah, that too. So I also wanted to share a bit of where I've been recently, to give you a sense of the world that I travel, and the fact that I do have sort of wide-ranging interests. I recently fell in love with Utah, which is sort of the top left, Bryce Canyon. And if you haven't been to Utah, go.
Zion? Did you go to Zion?
I went to Zion, went to Arches, did the road trip starting in Vegas, ended in Park City. I mean, what an amazing state that you can get all of this amazing natural beauty. Looks like you're on Mars in many cases. And this is when the national parks are celebrating their centennial next year. It really is what an amazing thing to have all these beautiful places protected. There will be a lot of events to celebrate that centennial next year. So Utah is a very special place, and I was fortunate enough to be there in April when it wasn't that crowded. And one other thing to say about this is that, you know, being there, I realized that I've been to Morocco, which has all sorts of red sands and red earth, etc. And I've also been to the Atacama Desert in Chile, northern Chile. And I didn't realize that I could actually have very similar experiences and landscapes right here at home. And that, yeah, I actually felt like I should have been able to get a stamp on my passport. It's a pretty special place. An emerging destination for many of us is Panama, which is the middle one. That's Casco Viejo, and also a UNESCO protected neighborhood. Panama's been having a luxury hotel boom recently, and which means but what's great about it is it's actually still very affordable. So you can actually stay in 4- and 5-star hotels in Panama for a lot less than you would stay in the same hotel brands in the United States, which makes it quite affordable when you get there for high-end experiences. And the Florida Keys recently got to go to Key West. Finally, I'd never been. Yeah, and
Very cool.
eat stone crab. So it turns out I wanted to bring all that home. MLK weekend. There's an annual stone crab and seafood festival in the Keys. I encountered next to no one from outside of Florida at this event, so it meant lots more stone crab for me. But if you like seafood, it's a great time to be there, and it's before all the crush of the East Coasters arrive as they try to beat the cold from New York.
When were you there? I'm sorry.
Martin Luther King weekend, so January. Yeah, so yeah, before we all of us East Coasters try to beat the cold, it's a good time to go. Jackson is one of my favorite places to go skiing. I also love Tahoe, but there wasn't enough snow this year, so I'm hoping there's more coming because there's flights now that are starting from the East Coast, to direct flights to Reno. So I'm fingers and toes crossed. And that archway in the town square is made from elks that the Boy Scouts go and collect from the National Elk Refuge, and it's an incredibly special place.
Did you go to the $1 Million Cowboy Bar?
Of course I did. It's an essential stop. You get to go and sit on a cowboy on a saddle, basically up at the bar. It's they're quite wide. I'm small, so my legs were dangling like this. But yeah, no, that's a fun town. It's a great Western history. And Cuba, which you guys may have questions about. Cuba, this is not a very recent trip. This is about 3 years ago. Everywhere else here I've been in the last 5 to 6 months. I'm lucky enough that I have a Canadian passport, so I was able to get to Cuba fairly easily. All things considered, I've got American and everything else, so everything else was quite challenging, but getting there was easier. We are so excited about what's happening in Cuba, and so bullish on it that we are going to be coming out with our first ever guide to Cuba in December. And this again, remember that Fodor's is a guidebook for American travelers. So because American travelers were not able to go, we were not covering Cuba in a guidebook. We have seen so much interest in Cuba since the restrictions started being eased that we're fairly confident this will be, this is the next big thing. It's either that or actually right now this last photo here is of Inle Lake in Myanmar, also known as Burma, which is the last frontier in Southeast Asia. This too, as many of you know, I'm sure recently only became sort of more open to foreign tourism, even went so far actually last summer now you can get e-visas online, which makes it incredibly easy to get there. There was a lot more paperwork to do before. This is a place I finally went in November, and I was worried that I was getting there too late. There's always a sort of idea now, like you're going somewhere too late, too late. I did not feel I'd gotten there too late. There is still a lot. Yangon, the capital, is really rushing towards the future. You see everybody in streets basically buying used cell phones and SIM cards. But outside of that, it is incredibly undeveloped. It is an incredibly mystical place. And Inle Lake is somewhere I just have never experienced anything like it before. I had thought, oh, why am I going to a lake? When I should be going to temples, which I did go to. I did go to the temples, but going to Inle Lake, everybody here lives on the lake. There are no sidewalks. Everybody gets around. You just get around in a thin, narrow, sort of dugout canoe-like boat with a little outboard engine on it. we're going through hanging gardens here. The major, if they're not fishing for sustenance, they are growing hydroponic tomato plants out of the water and attaching them to bamboo rods down on it's a very shallow lake, so they attach them down on these bamboo rods, and apparently if a villager moves from one village to another, he takes his tomato plants with him. Yeah. So to me, this is a very special place that was like nowhere I had been before in my life, and it is likely to become the first UNESCO protected place in Myanmar. Certainly there's a lot to protect there, but Bagan, where the temples are that many of us go to see after you've seen Angkor Wat, then you go to Bagan in Myanmar. Those have not been they've not been restored in the best way. There have been some liberties taken, so I think that will take longer to protect because there's a lot more work to be done to get it up to standard. This, however, the culture and traditions on this lake are unlike anything I've ever seen. And I think with that, I think I'm ending there. I am. So definitely want to hear some more questions if you have them.
Are you from Montreal?
I'm from Toronto originally,
Yeah.
and I lived in Montreal for 8 years before I moved to New York.
I grew up there.
Oh, great town. Where did you
La
live?
belle ville de Montréal.
Yes, La Belle Ville. Yes, that's sort of our.
Does Fodor's ever review hostels?
We occasionally review hostels. In fact, we have a brand new Brooklyn guide coming out, which we're also very excited about. So sort of Cuba and Brooklyn are our big polar opposite destinations this year. They're brand new to us. And there is a new hostel in Brooklyn that we think is pretty special. So we have covered it there, but not always.
Sometimes they're in better locations, like there's two on the coast right out of San Francisco on Highway 1 that are lighthouse hostels on the ocean, and you can't put a hotel there.
Right. So we will review hostels. We tend to like rooms that have their own bathroom. So or rooms that so that's a major piece for us.
But they do have.
And so if it's that sort of place, actually we do often review. If it's a really special, I mean, it may be called a hostel, but it actually sounds very much like it's sort of a local flavor kind of experience, and it's a one-of-a-kind thing. We absolutely cover that.
And then there's two in Marin that are on like Point Reyes National Seashore, and there can't be any hotels out there, and it's right on by the ocean.
Yeah.
Hotels are allowed there.
Yes.
And then the headlands too.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. I do that.
so they're allowed. Those places are allowed where hotels are not.
That's right. That's right. We actually have done a roundup of hotels in lighthouses. And I guess they're not really hotels, but anyways, like lighthouses you can stay in. And very popular topic. And you might imagine too, there's certainly many on the East Coast. Croatia, if you're into lighthouse stays, Croatia has amazing lighthouses that you can stay in all along the country. And they will also, not only can you rent the lighthouse, but you can also then sort of get a chef will actually paddle out with fare, with food for you. So if you want up the ante, but otherwise, yeah, you can stay on these lighthouses and
Even in our capital, Sacramento,
yeah,
there's a hostel right downtown, and it's an heritage site hostel, and an 1800s house.
Yeah.
One of the founders that started building up that city.
What's it called? Let's see if we have it. And we'll write it down if we don't. That sounds great. Yeah, we do cover a lot of
It's
history.
on 8th Street, I think.
History is really
It's on
historic
right
buildings
downtown
are-
on 8th
yeah.
Street.
On 8th Street. Okay, in Sacramento.
H, yeah,
H,
something,
okay.
H, I believe, yeah.
Yes.
This is a very specific question. We're going to Sevilla in the summer, and we're there for 4 days. And husband's saying, no beach, and I'm thinking, okay, what would you do if you had 4 days around Sevilla and maybe a beach, or Malaga, or
Yeah, that's gonna
Torrejos,
be.
or
You're not gonna get a lot of time in Sevilla if you're adding on the extra stuff. So I think you may have to add an extra day, or
just have one. So if we get one side trip,
yeah, that.
where would you go?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, you go.
You see, rent a car and drive over to the Alhambra.
Yes.
By the
Okay.
Moors.
Yeah.
Go see the
That's
dance.
Town Palace, that's number
Go see
one.
the dance.
And then there's a beautiful
Flamingo.
little hilltop villages that have been there since the Stone Age.
Rwanda?
Oh,
Alhambra,
yeah. Let's see the
You drive into the town square and you've got that much room on either side of your
On either
fenders.
side. It seems to be all us.
They're fascinating little tiny towns.
And I will also say that
What
actually
would you- what would you
Spain
do?
is, I'm gonna just say those are all great suggestions. And we do our Spain guide, actually, Spain is very popular with us, with our travelers too.
What would
so
you
our-
do?
I actually would probably go to the Alhambra because I'm into history.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably skip, in Spain for beaches, I'm more of like, I'm gonna go to Ibiza and sort of stay off the coast and
Yeah.
do my thing. And like, that's probably what I would do. But the Alhambra actually, that's, yeah, if you've never been, I'd probably go
That's
there.
awesome, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Sorry, no beach.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a different kind of a question. Are you familiar with Selvas?
Selvas?
The travel and tours outfit, globally speaking, for the purpose of peace building, which started 50 or 60 years ago.
No, and that sounds amazing.
I've done it.
Selvas.
Selvas?
Selvas.
Selvas?
S-E-R-V-A-S.
VAS? No, that's a good, so we actually get a lot of people looking for, like a lot of travelers write in asking about volunteer opportunities. So this is one where you can I actually go on a,
Service.org. You need to be a-
Service.org.
You need to be a member either as a host or as a traveler.
Yes.
Because, you know,
You need to be interviewed, get approved, and then you apply to stay with different places, with different families. And I don't think they charge you, they never used to charge.
there's no money exchange, no.
huh, that sounds terrific, and you can do it on a 2 week, sort of 2 weeks, so they
You
usual
typically
vacation.
sign up for 3 days
3
at
days.
a time.
Okay.
But when I first started with it about 20 years ago, there were several elders, you know, I love elders, you know, they wouldn't let me leave anymore.
Yeah.
So I had these mansions and these country
Yeah, that sounds
homes
great.
and vacation dreams, which, you know, my recovery from workaholism became very simple.
Yeah, good. Yes, that
And
sounds terrific. Well, thank you for the tip, that's very helpful.
And my other
Thank you.
question, since you obviously are traveled tremendously,
Not
at
enough.
at various levels and standards.
Mhm.
Whenever, you know, I've been fourth generation in business, and my business flipped after I used to import European duvet bedding to America into five-star hotels in a dozen Asian countries. And whenever I come back home, I'm in culture shock.
Yes.
So now, after my recovery from workaholism for 15 years, some of the owners of these hotels in Asia find me on my homepage and want to know things like, why are you so happy? And
Because I'm not working.
and
Yes.
how
Yes.
soon are you going to show us, for us, how to liberate ourselves somewhat the way you have? And these are Asian male now asking Western female.
Huh.
And I'm really in dilemma because the quality standards of our West Coast hotels at various quality and price standards
Yes.
are just absolutely shocking.
I have a question
Yeah.
along that line.
Yeah.
It was Hosteling International, look
Yes.
up in Sacramento, right downtown, an old Victorian, really beautiful. I stayed in the very tip top.
Mhm.
The thing about hostels, about pricing,
Yeah,
they include a continental breakfast.
yeah.
They include tours. I went to Vancouver last year, and the first night I stayed in a hostel in beautiful Vancouver,
Yes.
and it was so much fun. It's not just youth hostels anymore. It's
Right,
all
right.
ages.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all ages and families. They give you a nice breakfast, and they give you tours. They
Yeah.
gave us a tour, the gas town here and there, and they don't charge you. So they do a lot of fun things. And then next night, because my friends in the travel business, we stayed at the Fairmont.
Uh-huh.
And it's beautiful, but nothing is included.
No, I know. I
No
know.
continental breakfast.
Yeah, the
no
continental
free
breakfast
tours.
thing.
No, nothing.
The European hotels at every the European hotels have this down smartly. Like breakfast should be included. I really think that is that should be right.
Every place except here,
Yes,
and England maybe.
and England and Canada too, because you mentioned the Fairmont. I mean, you're not going to get your breakfast included there either, and it's a real shame. I feel like breakfast is critical on the road, and so is Wi-Fi. So
A $300 room.
yeah, thank you.
A $300 room, no breakfast, no tours or anything,
Right,
no fun,
right,
just a
right.
nice room. Or hostel, a lot of fun,
Yeah.
a nice breakfast, tours, a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
energy is so
the-
much more
totally.
fun.
yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the kind of trip you're looking for and access to the place and so forth. I think there's sort of a hotel for every traveler. And there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the hosteling world these days, because as you say, it's not just about youth hostels anymore.
No, it's not called youth hostels, it's
No.
Hosteling International.
Right, and there are new there are new hostels opening up all the time too that are really catering, because so many of us are traveling. We're older now, and we're still traveling the way we did when we were younger. We still want to have access to, fellow travelers to meet, and get around town with, and then be able to have a drink with, etc. So there's a lot going on there that I think is really interesting now in the space that we are watching.
They're unique spots,
Yeah.
even in Santa Cruz. It's a great spot right next to the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And it's in old Victorian cottages,
Yeah.
a main hotel. Have you seen? It's
I
beautiful.
can picture it. Yeah.
It's
No,
beautiful.
it's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
I have
Yes.
another question.
Yes. Gosh, I wouldn't have
Pompeii. We have like 5 hours in Pompeii. What would you, I mean.
Oh.
There's so much.
Okay, I'm going to let you answer the question. I've actually never been. We do cover Pompeii in our Italy guide quite extensively. So I would definitely go and look at that for ideas. But if you do have ideas, I'm all ears actually. You said there's tons to do.
Oh, I haven't been there in years, but I know Pompeii, that they've done a lot of work on restoring all the old
Yes.
sites. So there's some beautiful.
Yes.
Very
Well,
sad.
it's
I'm
full of
sure
old frescoes.
you can
Yeah.
We're gonna be coming down from Rome and
Yes.
then going to Sorrento from there, so we have
Yes.
like 4 hours.
4 hours.
In between, and it's like,
If you
I
kind
could
of
put our
wanna,
luggage in at the train station.
you walk around and look at the ruins, and I would probably try to avoid going in midday because it'll be extremely hot. Yeah.
So back to my
Yes.
question, it's not about cheap and hosteling,
Yeah.
international hosteling. Since you're catering to
Yes.
the United States,
Yes.
North America, who is in charge of establishing standards of hotellery and quality?
It's different standards. There isn't really a body that does that. In fact, it's interesting, the rating system too, right? I mean, there's different bodies that do the ratings. There's sort of no global. There's no global rating system that we're not using the same, like as France. France has sort of a global rating system, and we don't have that here. I would definitely, you can, I guess, start campaigning with your local representative to see what we can do about that, because I think it's really confusing to the consumer too, depending on what site you're on, and you're seeing different star ratings. What does 5-star mean? What does 4-star mean? What does
There are definite guides by, it's not mobile anymore, why
Right.
is it
It's like, well, it's still like the AAA. They do still do like the 4 diamonds, etc. And
AAA? And they have definite guidelines
They
that
do.
each hotel has to meet, otherwise they don't get the 4 stars, they get 3 or whatever.
So
Right.
who's qualified that the most professionally?
What was
well,
what
I think
is
it is.
It's
I think
not
you're thinking
mobile
about sort of
anymore.
AAA. It is this sort of AAA thing where they're doing the diamonds
Well,
and so
AAA
forth.
does the diamonds and the other one does the stars.
But
And
it's
you
still
could go online and find out.
I know I can do that. I have to know who calls the shots locally.
Oh, they have shoppers. They come and stay at your hotel. They look behind the drapes, under the beds. They make sure cleanliness. They eat in the restaurants. They talk to the maids. They talk to everybody.
So why is the welcome attitude of the better hotels in the region, and San Francisco is a global capital city, so far-fetched?
My hotel,
is this reactions to what?
I missed it.
You had a flag on France.
Yes.
There was a little flag, little marker. I was curious.
Yes, what was our?
It's Paris.
Paris, thank you.
He's like,
We have
Yeah.
4 stars because we're not big enough to have certain facilities that they require for 5 stars.
Yeah.
We have, same thing happens with AAA, like a spa, and we don't have a spa.
Right. Yeah.
But if you look, you know when you go into a 5-star hotel, this is what you expect to find, and if it has 5 stars, you will find it.
You know, that's not necessarily true internationally.
What?
Oh, but the whole systems are completely different, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
you
I was
can't-
in China, I was in Hangzhou in China, and I was
I'm not
like.
gonna let her go.
Yes.
They have-
I'll just send off here, we can just have this conversation.
Yeah, she wanted to ask, guys, can we just,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, thank
You had a question, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hi.
What is the one thing you always take with your travels and might surprise us that's been, I've been very helpful? What do you pack?
Can you just hold this
Honestly, the one
until
thing I
after?
always pack with me is a guidebook. I am that person that still brings a guidebook with me everywhere I go because because of the maps in it, because my phone will die. Well, frankly, I won't necessarily even have service to actually look at maps on the road. But even here, being in California, my phone just keeps dying all the time on me as I'm using up all this data to get routed. So I always bring a guidebook, and if there is no guidebook to that place, I will bring a map. Because for me, knowing where I am and how to get around is essential. That's actually what makes me feel very safe and confident in my travels, is knowing where I am at all times. So that, I guess that's the chief thing. We've made a lot of advancements, all of us, I mean, in terms of the technology that we have access to, but when you're standing on a street corner and your phone's dead, and you have no idea, and there's no hotel nearby or store nearby or whatever to actually pop into, and or maybe there is, but you don't speak the language, that's scary. So
You just get on a bus and go in the other direction.
in the other direction, you could also do that, but yeah, so it's usually, yeah, it's a guidebook, for sure, yes.
You know, on a technological level, you know, some people don't really think in terms of their apps, and it could be age related, you know, anyone like that's over 40 doesn't always think that way. And I found myself, I was in Benito, and I got lost. One could imagine it started getting dark, and I was getting really freaked out. And then here came some, you know, British couple, and we tried to figure out, and he had the map, and, you know, we were so lost, and all of a sudden I remembered my app, you know, so I was like, I downloaded it before I had left, and I said to Michael, well, you know what, I have the Google Map here, and I had my location on too, which was really great, and this was my quad band. It wasn't our regular phone, but my quad band, okay? And I was so excited, you know, because it just showed where we were. And he goes, and where are you staying? And I just remembered like a hotel right next door, you know. I put in the hotel, and it said we were like 4 minutes away, you know. And it showed, but you know, Benito with all the bridges, you can really get lost.
Yes, you
but
can.
But that's something for most people who are over 40, I think, you guys. There's a lot of apps that we can download that really help us. So that was something that
as long as your
was
phone
really
is
happy.
working.
I have one question.
Yes.
I just want to know how you fell into this and how much it's helped you as a human being to grow, mature, and how much traveling it really helps you as a human being.
That's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
I fell into this because I'd always traveled. I'd also spent some summers abroad and the like in school. But when I finished graduate school, I really wanted something that was going to just be completely culture shocking and change my optics altogether, because I'd been all over Europe. I lived on the East Coast, it was easy. So I went to Southeast Asia on my own for 3 months. And my only constant in that time period was my guidebook, actually. And before I got into the guidebook, I wasn't in the guidebook business at that time in my life. I was a journalist. Part of the problem, too, with being in grad school and being a journalist is that the language and the discourse you're doing in grad school is not necessarily something you can use for consumer-facing products. So again, that's one of the reasons I wanted this culture shock to just kind of change optics. So that trip really showed me and taught me what it was like to be completely out of my element. This is also, again, before the internet. I mean, there was internet, there were internet cafes, but there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram. I mean, I was really on my own, and then meeting people on the go, of course. But so the challenges and overcoming those challenges made me just want to keep doing that over and over again. So when I came back to, because the guidebook had been so important to me, I thought I really need to write a guidebook. I want other people to feel that kind of safety and confidence in what they're carrying with them when they're going to a foreign place. And I often do cover, at least at the time I was doing rough guides, I was always insisting on writing the piece about women traveling alone, like solo travel for women and what it was like to be in a place and what you need to be mindful of. And that's still something I like to do. I love to travel on my own as a woman. I love traveling to complicated, difficult places. I'm not always, although I do love going to Paris, I also really like going to places that are completely different and difficult and challenge me in every way because it makes me feel like a citizen of the world. When there is news about that place, I am then paying attention to it. It's not just sort of buried on page 10. I pay attention and I care. And I care about what happens to the world. It's not just that I care about what happens in New York City. I mean, that's sort of my view of New York City just goes like this, but I feel my worldview is very big and open, and I care about how we all live together. Sounds cheesy, but anyway, it is about how we all live together. And many of us who don't sort of travel and meet other cultures and have that clash of ideas and politics, like we don't know that there are other ways of seeing the world. So I think it's essential. I wish everybody did it. I think we'd all, I don't know if we'd all get along better, but I think we'd be able to speak better to each other.
Wow, that's a good way to end the session. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.